What's up, guys, and welcome to the Fitpreneur Revolution, where we explore the intersection of fitness and entrepreneurship. So from nutrition and exercise mindset to productivity hacks, this podcast will always give you the tools you need to optimize your health as well as your business. So everybody, we have another business owner with us today. Ash, I'll let you go through, just kind of tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and who you serve, I guess.
Awesome. Hey, man. Well, thanks so much for having me on here. I appreciate you bringing this on. As you can probably guess from my accent, I'm not from the States. I'm over from the UK. I've got a bit of a backstory anyway when it comes to business, but to give you an idea of what I do right now, primarily what we do is I run a company called PTD, and we run a done-for-you service for personal trainers, or online personal trainers specifically. That's effectively what we do. Specifically around using a online personal training software called PT Distinction. That's the main business that we run. Background wise, I've been in business since I was pretty young. I mean, I knew I'm quite lucky. So my parents own quite a successful business, completely different industry in manufacturing, like completely in. But what that meant is I knew more about cash flow than I did about algebra when I was a kid. So I was kind of brought up in that environment. So it was quite an easy step for me to take into the business world. So I've never actually, believe it or not, I've never actually been employed ever. I've always worked either self-employed, so worked for myself, or had my own business. So I couldn't tell you what it's like to be interviewed by somebody or anything like that. Like I've never had that experience. So I kind of started off in a completely different industry, in the adventure industry, as a coach. So I was coaching people rock climbing, kayaking, and that kind of thing. I did that for quite a few years. Working as a freelancer, we then set up a business. We did lots of local authority work, working with young people, tackling things like antisocial behavior and that kind of stuff. So we did that for a while. And alongside doing that, I did personally a lot of coaching work with climbers. So I had a big passion for rock climbing, still do. And I was helping them become better at what they do, like become better climbers. And part of that was the fitness side of it, as you can imagine. Now, during that time, my dad, he got diagnosed with angina, he was 6'4", and he was 23 stone at the time. So very unfit, very unhealthy, very stressed from the work and stuff he was doing. And he got diagnosed with angina, had an angina attack, wanted to do something about it. So he asked me, thinking, well, actually, you do similar stuff, so can you just help me with some things on this? And I said, yeah, of course I can. I'll go and help. And that's kind of where I fell in love with fitness. I started training him, learning a bit more, researching. Like I'm a bit of as you'll probably gather as we talk through this, a bit of a data geek. Like I love data. And I started studying, and I thought, actually, we'll try this out. And I helped him. And over the space of basically a couple of years, we got him down to 16 stone, and touch wood, if I can find it, he's never had an angina attack ever since. And that was some time ago now. And I literally just fell in love with the idea of doing that. So me being a bit of an action taker anyway, I decided I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to become a qualified PT. So I did my PT certs. Went to a gym. They said they wanted this, this, and this. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm going to go and set up my own gym instead. So somebody I met on the course, I said, let's just go and do it. We put some money in, bought a studio. It was a terrible studio. It was just, as you can imagine, this dark and dingy type place. But we did it up, started some basic stuff and stopped building it up, built a clientele up. Within about a year, we ended up having 2 of these venues. And then eventually, as we're doing that, I kind of moved on to the online side of stuff. I realized that in order to scale this the way I wanted to, we didn't do one-to-one for a start. We did group training and group coaching and stuff in there, because one-to-one to me just wasn't scalable. It wasn't giving us the income and the time that I wanted. And so we looked at doing that, and then we decided, actually, I want to look at online, adding online to this. How can we support our clients outside of what we're doing in the gym? So we decided to create this hybrid style program, which wasn't even the thing at the time. Like no one really heard of online. No one really heard of this hybrid training. And we just decided to do it anyway to give them support outside of it. And I did all the usual stuff, PDF spreadsheets, Google Forms, all those kind of things.
Right.
And I wanted the better way of systemizing it. Eventually, I found different software, tried different software out, and I came across PT Distinction. Now, at the time, this PT Distinction software, like a lot of people think I own PT Distinction. I don't actually own the software. But the 2 brothers that do own it just started setting up this software at the time, very early days. And I thought, I want to get involved with this. So I got involved with it at that stage and thought, let's try and do something with this. And as they did that, a lot of people like, actually, Ash, how are you making this software do what it does? And from there, basically, our done-for-you service kind of grew out of that. I just started helping people, not for want of any return to start off with, just thought I'd help people out because people are asking. Coach by nature, want to help, I want to talk to people. So that's what I did. And eventually people just just can you set it up for us? And that's basically how this current business grew. But from that, really.
That's awesome. So what kind of, and I know that we had said something there at the beginning in regards to, it's kind of a done for you service.
Mhm.
So so people that are listening, there's typically three types of services, and there's DIY, right?
Yeah,
Do it yourself.
DIY. One.
Then there's DWI, done with you, and then
Yeah.
there's DFY, so done for you. So
Mhm.
depending on what it is that you're actually looking for. So DFY, done
Mhm.
for you, means that you do not do the majority of the work. It's done
Mhm.
for you, just kind of how it sounds.
Mhm.
So just kind of with your DFY service, like what can people expect? Like what if they were to purchase your service or link up with you to get your service, like what could they expect from your service?
Well, I think the easiest way is to go through the kind of process that you would go through if you decided to use a service like this. So it is literally done for you. We will do all the work for you. That doesn't mean we're going to say go away, don't give us any input, and we're just going to get on with it. What basically happens is we would have a chat, and we would talk about your business, what you're currently doing, what you've currently got in your systems, where your biggest pain points are, where your bottlenecks are within your business. Like we look for all those kind of things, and then we look at what your current systems are, so your current state of the nation. And then from there, we can say, okay, we think this, and this would be a good way to improve on here and improve on here. We then start looking at the actual deliverables. And that's really where our main bread and butter is for our business is we work on the actual coaching deliverables. So how you do fulfillment, what you actually deliver to your clients, the structure of all that, and how you can do that in a way that allows you to scale a business to higher numbers. As I'm sure you know, when it comes to online coaching, you can handle quite a high number of clients when you have the right systems and structure in place for your fulfillment and
Yeah.
get great results and customize them. And I know a lot of people say you can't, but I promise you can have hundreds of clients and customize them for each of you. You can do it with the right systems in place. So
Right.
what we do is we look at the current things and then we'll say, right, this is what we think would work. What are your ideas? What do you want to do? And you will give us those kind of ideas, and then we go away and say, is this possible to build? Yes, it is. In most cases, it is. And then we'll create a kind of blueprint for that. Make sure you're happy with it. A bit like building a house, really, I suppose. Get your ideas, build a blueprint for it. And if the coach or the business is okay with that, then really from there we get to work and build it all out. And yeah, there might be the odd things we need from you, like videos and that kind of thing. So we can't look and sound like you. I mean, AI is getting close to doing that, but at the moment we can't do it.
Right.
So yeah, we basically normally get videos and stuff from you. But we'll tell you what we need. We'll do the integrations to your websites. We'll build all the backend software, backend systems out for you, and everything like that, based on the needs really for your business. And that's effectively what we do with the Done For You service.
I got you. So essentially, you work as like a back office for
Mhm.
for the business completely.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Handle
Cool.
the stuff you might not want to do yourself or have the time to do. In reality, you probably got better things to do than build these systems and things out. Where you want to coach clients, you want to look at how you bring more leads in, you want to work on sales or whatever you enjoy doing, whatever you want to do more of in your business, wherever your, I suppose, want for a better word, your superpower in your business is. We can take away the stuff that's probably not your superpower or not the thing that you actually want to do and spend time on. And hopefully, by the time it's all set up, it will free up your time a lot more. I mean, on average, most of our clients save an average of 10 hours a week when we have these systems and stuff set up by the time it's all done.
So would you say that it's like would you compare it to a CRM?
It can be. It can be. We actually work with lots of different CRMs. So what some Done For You services might do, or you might see around where they'll have a CRM say, yes, you can have this, but you have to use this software, you have to use this CRM, you have to use whatever.
Right.
There's reasons for that, and it makes sense. Like, I completely get why you would do that because it does save, from a business point of view, lots of time. And we do have recommended software, but we do this as recommended software, and just it's part of our mentality with our business. Like, we don't do affiliate stuff with them, we don't do resale stuff with them. So this is what we recommend to use for that particular thing, and we'll recommend different software for different people. So even though I've mentioned already, we specialize in PT Distinction as a software to do it, which is delivering software. We don't force that down people. If there's something better for your business and what you want to do, then that's what we'll recommend, and we'll always do it that way. So we will set up CRMs for people, but it doesn't have to be a specific CRM. We can build them from scratch for people. We can work with the CRMs you've already got in place. But yeah, it doesn't have to be a very particular CRM software. But we do work literally from one end of the scale to the other, from systems for lead generation to sales to fulfillment to even the retention at the back end, and even just some day-to-day stuff. Like if you struggle with, if you wake up in the morning as a coach and you don't know what to do, And I'm sure like with your programs, you'll help people have SOPs and stuff in place. A lot of the time we can look at those SOPs and look at ways of systemizing some of those things. So probably our most probably popular customer, if you like, our most common customer is a trainer that's actually working with a coach, a business coach or business mentor. And they have these systems and things in place. But what they don't really have is either the time or the technical knowledge, normally the time to build those things out themselves. They rather spend their time doing sales calls or outreach or whatever they want to do, or just coaching clients. So we would take that and do that whole process that I mentioned there. We'd go and build all that out for them.
That's cool. So yeah, I'm trying to think back. It's been a while since I've really done back office stuff. My team normally does it now, but so a CRM that we use is like Elite 360. It's like a white label of Go High Level or something like that.
Know the software pretty well.
And, okay, cool. Yeah. And then so going through that, it does a lot for it. Like it has a lot of DFY tech in it. So like your funnels are built out. You have like 3 or 4 different landing pages that you have to attach a domain to. Stuff like that. So with you guys, it's like, okay, cool. This is my CRM that I want to use. I would like you guys to help me move forward. So are you saying that you manage the whole back-end office, like the CRM, all of that completely, like all of it?
Yep, we'll go there, make sure everything's set up that you want to, work in the way you want it to. We can help with managing that as well, if need be. But primarily our work, normally what we try and do is build the systems into a place where, let's say if you're working with a coach, which most, like I say, most of our clients are,
right.
Normally they'll be working on building a team out or something like that anyway. Our aim is normally to take that system, make sure it's customized to them. So for example, if it has the sales pages on it, it has the domains and stuff they do, we'll connect all the domains, we'll do all the branding, we'll do the sales copy and stuff on there for you. We'll connect any other existing software. So if you're using, I use P-Distinction as an example. If you're using that, we'll make sure that's connected properly. We'll make sure the onboarding processes flow properly. We'll look at ways where we can maybe save time on that, get rid of some of the bump, because a lot of the time when you have these pre-built stuff, you might not use 60% of it. So we make sure that's out the way. So it's very clear what you need to do. And then we'll build SOPs around that as well, and then provide training around that either you can use if you're just working on your own as a coach, or if you've got a team, they'll be created for your team as well. And it's not just in the CRM, it's across the board from leads right the way, lead generation right the way through to deliverables and retention as well.
So you handle okay. I'm just trying to, so I want to make sure that I can wrap my head around it, and as well as the listeners, because I know there's a ton of you fitness people out there that's online fitness coaches that are listening, or maybe you're a coach. And so something that I'm really big on in regards to working with other people is networking. Because I don't think, especially this day and age, it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? So when your network is big enough, and it's like, I'm trying to be able to help all of you guys that are out there that are listening. So I want some more clarity on it, so you have more clarity on it as well. So when it comes to from A to Z, it's like, okay, cool. Like your software sounds cool. I'd like to hire you. So you're saying that you go through lead generation. So like you go and work on client acquisition, you deal with back-end office, and then once those clients are closed and inside the program, you help with client retention on that as well.
The systems for it. The best way to think about it is the systems for all of this. So we'll actually be a staff member, for example. Won't be a staff member doing that. What we'll do is we'll build the systems to allow that to work. So let's say if you're a coach and you come into business, you're probably going to see, okay, I need a CRM to manage my clients. I need some way of delivering my services to my clients. I need a way of retaining those clients for the long term. And if you've ever done that without having systems in place, you'll notice it's quite time consuming. If you follow up with people, trying to remember who to follow up, and then you've got to get on the sales call, and then you've got to follow up with them, and then you've got to move them into it, and you've got to onboard them, and then you've got to deliver your services to them, and then you've got to somehow during that time delivering and make sure you retain them for the long period, because as we all know, it's much cheaper and easier to keep a client than what it is to find a new one.
Right.
So all those things require systems if you want to scale. And that's basically what we do. So we would go in there and we would create everything from start to finish if you want to. Sometimes we just work on just fulfillment. Sometimes we just work on just the CRM side of it. Depends on the needs of the business. But we do have a lot of people that come to us, a lot of trainers that come to us and say, well, this is kind of what I want to do. This is what I'm currently doing in my business. I have an Excel sheet here where I just go through my list to follow up with people. And then I I send them I add them into my software. I send them this link out, this link out, this link out. They have this 30-minute video to watch and 72-page onboarding pack and all whatever it is, and then check in with them each week on calls and all that kind of stuff. And I go, well, actually, you don't really need to do all that in order to get the results for your clients. If you want, A, understand who your clients are, and B, you have the right systems in place. And that's what we do. We will go in there, take what you have as an idea and build that out into a system that's scalable and saves you a lot of time.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% in regards to the system. So for, people that do not have a mentor, people that do not have a coach, and I know that you can relate to this because I see a lot of your posts and some of the groups that I'm in, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's my VA posting or it's me, I always go through and do VA audits, and so I see familiar stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people that are new, and again, I can relate to this because I was once a brand new online fitness trainer. Mm-hmm. There's no rhyme or reason why they do things that they do, right? It's like they don't really have a direction. It's like, okay, I know I want to be an online fitness trainer and I don't know how to get leads. So what do I do? I'm going to go through and I'm going to start posting in Facebook groups. I'm going to start cold DMing. And guys, I'm not telling you what to do. Do not do what I'm telling you. I'm just saying this is what
say what you say.
Online trainer does. They go through and they're posting in groups looking for clients, or they're cold DMing everyone that they can until they get blocked by Facebook for sending too many cold DMs. Like, that's just what you're doing. And then so it's like, okay, cool. You magically land a client, and then it's like, now what are you going to do? You have no system or no structure of any way, shape, or form in your business. And so I talk about this a lot on this podcast, the importance of having a systemized process that's like, okay, like there's always going to be a next step. Like, I understand being new. It's like the number one goal is to make revenue inside of your business. I get that. Then what happens after you get that client? And you're gonna have to work on client fulfillment, right? And so there's going to be more and more steps that fall into place. When you learn to build that process out and streamline it so it goes, okay, now I know what I need to do from A to Z because I have an SOP or at least a process, and all I'm going to do is repeat this. Every time I get a new customer, I'm going to repeat this process. It kind of helps it become streamlined. And so, yeah, in these Facebook groups, man, people are going wild, posting stuff. It's like, for instance, yesterday or something, I saw a post in regards to somebody posted they had like 200 clients. They had like 100 comments on this.
I think I know the post you're on about.
People are like, that's BS. There's no way you have that many clients, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, guys, read the post. First of all, he said he was an online trainer. He didn't say he was in person. Like, I get it. Like, it's impossible to have 200 in-person trainers.
Yeah. 10-minute sessions every day, don't sleep, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Everybody's like, you have to be online. He's like, well, obviously, because that was what the post said. And they're like, there's no way. That's impossible, especially as a new trainer. Well, he never said he was a new trainer. He didn't say he was new. It's like, I think what happens is there's so much smoke and mirrors out on the online space where people have been duped so many times that they're very skeptical on anything that they see or hear. And that's okay to be skeptical, but it is possible. Just because you can't do it doesn't mean that it's not possible. Like, I literally have an online fitness trainer inside my program right now. She has 420 something clients was what she had this morning when she texted. 420 something clients inside of her program. She does, again, she has a team, a whole team. It's not just her, but she does about $98K a month. It's possible to do those kind of numbers regardless of what anyone says, because you have to get a system, a process of some kind. You can't throw darts at the wall and hope that something's going to stick. Like, it's not going to work.
Definitely not. I mean, one of the biggest things, I think probably a sentence I say way too much these days, is about most personal trainers see themselves as personal trainers, where you're not a personal trainer, especially as an online personal trainer. You're not an online personal trainer, you're not a personal trainer. What you are is a business owner that offers personal training or online personal training as a service.
Right.
And I think when you start approaching what you do in that particular way, you start thinking about things like a team, the systems, the process, where if you approach it as I'm a personal trainer, then maybe your first response to I've got 250 clients at the moment is like, or 200 clients. No, you can't do that because they're thinking I'm just a personal trainer. They're thinking about this, who they are, not what is actually possible out there, not looking at it like a business owner. Where I look at things like that and I would go, if it was me starting out, I'll say, great, that's awesome that you're doing that. How are you doing it? What's the background? Because the problem is people are making assumptions without any context whatsoever. Exactly. Like no context. You have no idea. You don't know if he's got a team or not. And I mean, you can manage 200 clients, technically speaking, with probably one person. There's limitations to it, but it's possible, depending on your niche and who you work with and how dialed in you've got that. But the most of the time you need probably a couple of clients. I mean, we have one now. We have a guy called Joe. Is just 2 on his team. He's currently got, I think it's like 470, 480 clients running, something like that in there, through the systems and stuff we got in. He was kind of saying when he first started, it's like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to handle more than like a handful of online clients. And what he's delivering is better quality. He's getting better results for his clients now. They're getting more support. They feel more supported. And he's got ridiculous amount of number of clients compared to what he had like 6-7 months ago. Right. And it's got an extra. I mean, the only person in his team is his wife, who is also a trainer, but she's in his team. So that's it, 2 people in the team. He has VAs and people like that as well to help him out. But yeah, like I say, it is definitely possible. I mean, we've got clients that have got like 4,000 active members. Big team. Right. There's a big team there, but they've got 4,000 active members, and it all just comes down to the systems and the approach. I think your mindset, the approach that you take as a business owner, not a personal trainer.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And that's where you have to, just like you said, it's almost like you have to shift your mindset and understand the perspective is different. You're no longer just a online personal trainer. Like you said, you're a business owner. And oftentimes, especially being new, we're just trying to get, kind of navigate your own path, figure out what direction you're trying to go. Mm-hmm. You're a solopreneur. You're wearing all the hats of the business. So there are limitations for that. But what happens is that's what people call scaling a business. At some point in time, you're going to scale. When you hit that ceiling, instead of going, well, I can't take any more clients right now because I'm booked. I can't handle any more clients right now. I just don't have time. It's like, that's the worst thing possible you can do. Instead of saying that, if you have clients that want in your program, you simply outsource. Hire an assistant coach that can help with client fulfillment. Hire a VA that can help you send messages or make content or whatever it is that you need to do. That's the whole definition of scaling a business. It drives me crazy when, like, I'm talking to somebody and they're like, oh, I can't take any more fitness clients right now. It's like, that's not a bad thing. Like, hire people, become a business. That's what happens. You go from solopreneur to entrepreneur because you come at an established business. Then it's like, okay, I need to sit down and I need to figure out who, so-and-so is the CEO of the business. Then I have like a VIP or VP of operations. Then I have somebody that deals with the finances. Then I have, and you slowly build that out. It's not like it happens overnight, and it's definitely not something you need to do when you go, you know what, I think I'm going to become an online personal trainer. Let's create a whole team of people, because then you'll never last. But
yeah, that's maybe not quite the right way of doing it.
Right, exactly.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. I always think when we talk about things like this, like I always ask myself why. Like, I'm a big believer in asking why and everything, which annoys a lot of people sometimes. Like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing it this particular way? And I think that's important for special systems, especially with deliverables and fulfillment and stuff. But I think what you mentioned there about, they can't take more people on, you always have to ask why they would think that particular way. And I don't know about you, but personally, I think it comes down to 2 things. It's either fear or ego. I think it's one of those 2. I think either you're scared of making that investment and putting yourself out there more, or maybe ego's getting in the way, thinking no one else can do what I can do. No one else can coach the way I can coach. No one else can do sales the way I can do sales, or whatever. I think it's normally one. I don't know what you found, but I found it's normally one of those 2 things that tend to hold people back.
Yeah, I could agree with that. And I would add almost one more in there, though, that It's lack of knowledge of knowing that there's assistant coaches available, or knowing how to scale a business, or, just the lack of knowing any other information, and thinking, well, this is it. Like, I can't, there's not enough hours in the day. I don't have any time. And like, it goes down to thinking to that. It's that mindset thing again. It's like, there's a difference between busy and productive. Like, people can go, oh, I'm too busy. It's like, are you really though? Or are you being busy? Or are you being productive? Are you, making any headway? Or are you just like finding random stuff to do to say you're busy?
Yeah, just filling in the gaps, basically. I guess you don't know what you don't know. I guess that's literally as simple as that, isn't it? I mean, interesting enough, one of the Done For You service was talking about there. One of the interesting things we get from that is data, because as I mentioned, a lot of time your coaches will come to us and say, I want this particular system. As much as we'll offer bits of advice and stuff now, in essence, what we do is we set up whatever it is you need setting up in order to do the systems that you want to deliver. So we actually get quite a good insight in what works and what doesn't. So we actually get to see what goes into successful online businesses and what maybe holds businesses back, online businesses back. And there's quite an interesting amount of data on that. And there's actually things that there's definitely commonalities in businesses that are successful, to the point where, like, I could identify any business, and without even knowing what they do on their back end, I could probably tell you, based on their level of success, what they're doing on their back end. Not in detail, but enough, like the kind of things they would have in place, the approaches they would take and stuff like that. And it's one of the reasons why even with our Done For You service, everyone that signs up to it, because we don't always take, like, a majority of our clients are from people who work with coaches and stuff in the past, or currently working with coaches. But we do have people who are brand new to it as well, and just find us and they want to get things set up. And we have that kind of predicament where they don't know what they don't know. And they need to understand what things they'll need to do or have in place in order to get to a point where they can scale. So when that happens, if they come along and they haven't really got any real idea of what they want set up, we actually have like I suppose this one's probably closer to Done With You than Done For You, but it is Done For You. So we can just set up a system that we've seen work. So we're terrible at names. So we just called it the super system because we couldn't think of anything better. So that's just kind of what it's stuck. It's like a code name that's stuck. And all it is a very fundamental system that we see a lot of businesses tend to follow anyway, that tend to be successful, easy to learn, easy to understand, doesn't take up too much time. So we can help people set it up, pull the content in, even the way the content's being delivered. Instead of just saying, like, here's all this information that the client definitely needs to get a result, and actually thinking, well, hang on a minute, they don't need all that information. Information doesn't mean anything. They can get that from anywhere. Like, it's the implementation of that and how they apply that. So we can help do all that kind of stuff, put stuff in place. And then we have a course that runs alongside that to help really with education, just to help people understand, okay, what are the kind of basic systems, what are the fundamentals you need to be successful online? How do you actually coach online? Like, what goes into it? How do you take your in-person skill set and transfer that into an online environment? And only at a basic level, it is literally a basic level, but it's enough really to kind of help hopefully fill in that gap, so that when they've gone through that, they'll understand A, the system they've got there, and B, they've got somewhere they can go to. So let's say, for example, if they come to you, Dustin, for your program, they've actually got some fundamental basics in place around business and stuff. Like, they're not completely blindsided by all this stuff. And that's basically what we do with that course a lot of the time. We have a lot of people in there where, other coaches will speak to people like, where do you go next? And we'll say, oh, there's this coach here be right for you, or this mentor here could be right for you. Networking, as you said, there's a big thing for us, because we want to network with other coaches and other business coaches and mentors, because we want to make sure we can signpost people that we work with to the next logical step for them to go to. So we have that side of the business as well, that we do get quite a few people into that side of business now. So yeah, probably about 20% of our clientele's got nothing really in place yet, but I'd say 80%'s mainly people coming from other coaches.
Yeah, I like that. I agree with you about data and metrics, and I know that's something that I've talked about on here before, but you can't really be successful if you. So here's my take on metrics and data. Without it, if you're not tracking anything and you have no data, nothing, and you're failing somewhere, you don't know where to go and start looking to find where you're failing, right? It's like, what do? You go, okay, I need to just like completely dismantle this and start all over, because you don't know where the hole is. So if you're a boat, right? Say you're a boat out in the middle of the ocean and you're tracking data, you're tracking stuff. you can pinpoint where that hole is in the ship or in the boat and go, oh, it's right here, and repair it. If you're not tracking anything, you have no clue where that hole is. You're searching all over and you're wasting time because you're taking on water. Like, that's the importance of tracking numbers and tracking metrics. So whether it's, I'm a big metrics guy. KPIs are something that's really big. Closing rates, like I literally track everything inside my business, and we go over everything on a team meeting, and we go through stuff, and I hold people accountable because, to be honest, that's, they're delegated certain tasks, and it's to track those numbers, and they have to hit a certain percentage of those numbers to be successful. And I hold them accountable to that, just like I would if it was a student inside my program. I'm going to hold them accountable. So whenever it comes down to your systems, you're saying that you have things in place that help do stuff like that?
Yeah. So basically, if let's say someone comes along and they don't know that, what you've just said there,
Sure.
we speak with people sometimes that don't even really know what KPIs are, or if they do, they don't really understand why they would need them or use them or what things to actually track. So we have stuff to try and help them with those fundamental basics. So to us, there's these kind of 8 fundamental pillars in any business that you need to have. Not any business, not just the fitness industry, just in any business. There's certain things the business needs to do in order to be successful.
Right.
And I think they're the important things that need to be put in place. And I think the problem we tend to get in the fitness industry is a lot of personal trainers won't approach things as a business because they're never taught to. They never taught the basic business skills, because why would you? You like helping people, you like coaching people, you like training the gym, whatever. So that's why you get into it. You don't get it because you want to be an entrepreneur. And I think what tends to happen is you will naturally become a business person. You have to naturally become a business owner, because you have to, especially over in the UK. It's a bit different in some parts of the world, but here in the UK, you don't get employed as a PT. You basically have to be self-employed. You pay rent to a gym and all that kind of stuff. It's the only way you can earn money. And I think because of that, trainers get forced into that side of it, and they're never really exposed to proper business for that. Because at the end of the day, if you're in a gym and the gym's doing most of the lead generation for you, basically what they're doing is they're pulling in people into their gym, and now what you're doing around is walking the floor and having conversations with people, building a relationship up, and hopefully helping with your services. So some of the work's already done for you there. And I think because of that, you can get away without having a real good grasp on business. You just need to have the basic numbers in play to do it. When you go online, though, that safety net's gone, and you have to treat it like a business. And that's where we see a lot of trainers struggle and miss things. And that's why we decided to create a course base. It's actually, technically, it's a certification. You can actually use it for CPD points and things like that as well now. But it's just a very basic certification around becoming an online trainer. And you get that with our I've done for you service. Everyone gets it regardless if they work with us. You don't have to use it, obviously, because if you're already on mentorship programs, you would have covered all that stuff without a doubt. But if you're brand new to it, it's a great way to give you those fundamental baselines. So if we are going to build a system for you and you don't really know what you want in that system, we can create this process from the lead generation side of it to the sales side of it to the fulfillment and the retention of those clients. We can build that out for you, do all the deliverables in there as well for you, following a process of coaching that we've seen work online that's scalable. And then we give you the resource and education to help you understand how to do that, what metrics to track, how to make sure things, because it's those metrics that make all the difference. Those metrics tell you where you need to change things and tweak things and adapt things. And I think as trainers, we see this as well anyway. We might not do it in our business, but we do it all the time with our clients. Like if you didn't track the measurements, if you like, if you didn't track things like weight or circumference measurements or anything, body fat percentage, calories they're eating, macros, how would you know where to make a change? Other than go, actually, okay, you're not getting the results that you wanted. You're not looking like you're any slimmer, if that's what they want to do. So I'll tell you what, let's just scratch everything we've just done for the past few months and then start again. Like you don't do that as a coach, as a personal trainer.
Right.
So you don't do it in your business. You track the metrics and then you make small changes and tweaks. And eventually you'll start picking up momentum and away you go.
Yeah. I like that. I like that analogy in regards to metrics and being a personal trainer. I never thought of it that way. And that's 100% accurate there. If if you're a trainer, and I think it goes back to that level of awareness. It's like, why do most people become an online fitness? Or no, I'll take that back. Why do most people become a personal trainer? I've talked to enough of them, and we all have the same story. It's like we've gone through a fitness journey at some point in our life, And it's like, wow, I really have a passion for fitness. I want to help other people experience what I feel. And so we go and do that. Or we're just naturally athletic and we always, enjoy fitness, or we're just a natural born coach. And it's like, I want to go help other people get in shape. Right. So then that's what we go and do. And we never have the desire to be a business owner. We do it because we have a passion for fitness. And so you're 100% right on. No one knows how to track numbers. No one knows any of that in regards to owning or running a business. That's a learned skill. It's stuff that you learn over time, because I say it all the time. There's always a next level. No matter what you're doing, there's a next level. So you making that shift from being an in-person trainer to an online PT, then you're going to the next level by becoming a business owner, and you have to learn another set of skills to get you to the next level. And so being able to track those metrics and stuff like that is what you're saying. Like, that's huge, because again, back to the analogy that you used, it's like, we're not gonna step on a scale. We're not gonna make any measurements. Just eat healthier, eat healthier foods. Don't weigh anything. Don't count calories. And
fingers crossed it'll work.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And then 8 weeks later, it's like, I feel like I'm a lot heavier, and you can visibly see that they've put on body fat and they haven't gotten any more muscle mass or any toner. It's like, let's try something different for this next 8 weeks. Let's do this.
Yeah,
just guessing. Guessing,
finger in the air. We'll pick something else. We'll pick something else to do.
Yeah. It's like, oh, okay, well, instead of eating broccoli for the next eight weeks, we're going to eat spinach and see if that helps anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I do find it really interesting. Like, I think in reality, as coaches, like, some of the things we learn as coaches and we learn as personal trainers, they are transferable. They are definitely transferable skills between in parts of what we do that can be transferred into business. And that's something I always try and do. I try and do it in my content a little bit sometimes as well. I try and compare it to what things a trainer might be doing in their everyday life, and try and relate that to some of these fundamental principles behind business. Because if you can relate to it that way, it makes sense why I should put a bit of time and effort into doing that. And I think if you do put that time and effort into doing things, especially working out your key performance indicators, your key KPIs, work out what they need to be. You don't have to go crazy to start off with it. Like, just keep it very, very simple. I mean, at the very least, you need to understand, like, how many sales you're making, how many leads you're getting in, those kind of things. And what the actual cash flow is, like what money's coming in and out, that kind of stuff. Like, it's not overly complicated to start with. Just start with some basic stuff, and then you can build on it from there.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, eventually you get to the point where these KPIs give you lots of information. So if you're going to do more stuff, like we do it, if we're going to invest time into some kind of campaign, do we want to bring some more leads in for a particular thing, I can look at the KPIs, look at what our averages are, look at the percentages, and that tells me exactly how much money or time I need to put in order to get the return that I want. And the KPIs tell me that. So I can make more educated decisions on what investments, whether that's time, money, resources, or whatever, for the business based on those KPIs. If I didn't have those KPIs, I was like, well, it's just a bit of a best guess, really, about what's going to work and what's not. Right. I think I'd struggle to run a business without them.
Yeah, and it's always, I agree with you. In the beginning, you don't need to get crazy trying to track everything, because then what happens is just like anything else. You become overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. And what happens when we become overwhelmed? We typically go, I'm really confused and I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So then you just like walk away and do nothing instead. And so I don't know what your take is. My main one, that the main thing you need to know is, how much does it cost you to get a new client in your business? Yeah. Like, that is the main one. Yeah. Once you figure out that number, then you go, okay, so I know that it's going to cost me X amount of dollars to get another client. And then it's like rinse and repeat. And then you start sprinkling in a little more. It's like, okay, so how many messages do I have to send to get a book call? How many book calls do I have to have in order to close a call? Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, cool. Here's my response rate. Here's my close rate, or my close percentage. And like, you just start adding all that stuff on. And it's just like anything else. You learn through experience and just getting the reps in. Like, that's it. The more reps you do, then it's like, okay, now this is simple. And then it becomes streamlined. And it comes just like like waking up and brushing your teeth every day. You're tracking stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the more you do it, the more data points you've got. The more data points you got, the more accurate it becomes. The better you can use the data. It's that, like I say, acquisition costs are a really big thing. But I think acquisition's an interesting one because you would, I'm sure you've answered plenty of these questions before in groups where someone asks like, "How much should I charge my online training program?" That's it. That's all you'll get. No context.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right then. So it's like saying how long is a piece of string, basically.
Right.
And there's key things you need to understand. In order to do that properly, there's key things you need to understand. And you need to understand what your acquisition cost is for a client first. Because if I don't know, making them, let's say you charge 100 quid, there's kind of these numbers here, 100 quid, but it's going to cost you £200 in time and ad or whatever, like reach, because time is still money, like your resources. You need to, I think that's an important thing business owners need to realize, or trainers need to realize, that it's not just about the money you put in, it's the time as well. Like a lot of time I'll call these resources. So resources, when I say that, is time or money. You need to work out how much resource you're putting in. If you're putting $200 or £200 worth of resources into a £100 program that you're selling, you're at a net loss already before you even started. So it's really important that you have an understanding of what your acquisition costs are. It's really important that you have an understanding of what your direct costs are as well. Like if you're doing a coaching program and you're going to spend half an hour every week coaching a client or something, whatever it is, not saying you have to do that and you can do for a lot less, but let's say if you did, like you need to understand what the costs are for those as well. And that's going to help you work out those costings. So I think in order to do that, you need to have a little on some of those numbers. So your acquisition costs are really, really important. The cost to acquire those clients. The other thing you should really track as well for me, just some of the fundamental stuff in business, like cash flow is a big one. A lot of people don't track cash flow. And I think, I don't know if it's the same for you. We have a lot of trainers that will come to us sometimes and they'll use their personal account and their business account as the same account. And it's just like, you just need to stop it because you've got no data from that. It's so skewed. So like, those kind of things I think are important to track. Be acquisition costs, direct costs for your actual service that you're selling as well. And that's going to tell you what your profit is, your GP is, your gross profit on those products to do it. And when you know that, you can start really looking and playing around with the numbers and getting a feel for where you should put your time and resources in your business into.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's funny that you say that about it's I don't want to call it commingling funds, but that's kind of what happens to the point, because there's no needle to gauge anything. And so we cover that like module 1 inside. It's like, go get an LLC, open a business banking account, keep your finances separate. Like that's it. But that's how it is. Like, you don't really have a needle to gauge anything. And if you can't gauge it, you don't know where you're going wrong. So it's hard to fix. And again, I like what you said about people, there's no context around the question. People just ask questions, which is okay. Like there are no stupid questions, but in order to get the accurate answer, you have to give some kind of context. So most people already know when they come in my program. If you're not, like, say you're just, say you're on the verge of starting your online PT business, you're thinking about it. So just like he said, before you figure out your price point, you have to think of how much does it cost you to get a client, and then look at the amount of time that you're going to have to actually spend on fulfilling that client's needs. So you're going to look at, there's tons of different aspects that go into it, and you have to really dig in and figure all those out before you can come up with an actual price point, because either one, you're going to charge them too much, or two, you're not going to charge enough, and it's going to be hurting you in the long run. So I know, like, if you have a paid Facebook group, are you going to jump on and do lives in your Facebook group, or are you going to have like one-on-one Zoom calls in your Facebook group? What's your client fulfillment look like? Are you going to have weekly check-ins? Is that 30 minutes to an hour? Because that's time that you're investing in that. It's more than just you sitting down, building out their program and going, here, there's the program. I'll talk to you in 4 or 6 weeks, right?
Always
more to it than that. But
I think that is one of the most important things you can do, is really start thinking about what those actual costs are to your business and the time cost, and truly actually think about it. Like a lot of times you say, actually, well, I only spend this much time. It take me 10 minutes to do a program. Well, will it? But you've got 10 minutes to do a program. You got to think about it. You've got to then send it to your client. You've got to then follow up with them. Are they asking questions? How many questions are going to be asking in the group? How much time does that take up? These are all costs. These all take up resources in your business. And the reason I like to call them resources and why it's important to understand is, and I'm sure you could sit there and go, well, actually, I'm just on my own, Ash. It's fine. Like, I'm not doing, it's just me. So I'm okay giving it up. That's fine. But earlier on, Dustin was talking about scaling. How are you going to scale that if all your costs and price are based on you just saying, oh, it's okay, I'm giving my time off, I don't mind doing that. Because if you're scaling, you're then bringing people in to do that for you. So that cost needs to be accounted for. So to me, you need to start thinking about accounting for those costs now, if you can. So when you start scaling, you're in a position where you don't have to like rapidly put your prices up or anything like that. Like, you're in a good position already to actually scale your business because you've got those costs and numbers dialed in to start off with.
Yeah, that's a good point. You have to think about that. Always, here's a good rule of thumb. Always be a step ahead of what you're going to do, or you're going to actually be a step behind of where you need to be. Does that make sense? Because that's the way it plays out being a business owner. If you don't think about it in advance, when the time comes, it's going to be like, oh man, and then you're going to be behind of where you should be. So yeah, that's a good rule of thumb.
I do like that. It's interesting in the UK. I know in the States you have CEOs, for example. We have CEOs over here, but as far as our registered companies are concerned, with the owners, the CEO, they're called directors. And I think that's a really apt name for a company owner, because it's their job to direct the company in the right direction. And I think if you can remember, if you register yourself as a business and you become this director and you think about it that way, in order to actually direct anything, direct a show, direct a business or whatever, you need to be way ahead of the game. You need to be thinking like, what's the next step, and make sure what you're doing now is in line with where you actually want to take this to. But I generally prefer the name director over like CEO, because I think it gives a really good idea of like what you're actually doing as a business owner if you are directing it in the right direction. And again, I don't know about you, but one thing I find as well that a lot of people don't always do when they first start out, and again, we do it with our clients. Interesting is always thinking relate back to our personal training clients. The first thing we do is we sit down and understand what the actual goals are for them as an individual. We don't look at the goals for a particular program. We look at the goals for the individual first, and then we set targets in our program based around the goals of the individuals. And the amount of trainers I speak to when we do, especially for the done for you stuff, I go say, okay, what's your end goal? And the first thing they'll come out do is go, I don't know, I want to earn 100 grand a year. Let's just make it easy. 100 grand a year, that's what they want. 10 grand a month or whatever. I go, okay then, but what's your actual goal? Because that's a target. 100 grand's a target, but that doesn't mean anything on its own, because I don't know whether 100 grand's going to get you to where you want to be. I don't know how much time it's going to take up or anything like that. So all this money does and all time does is it's just, these are just targets you're aiming for. You need to understand really what the end goal is. You need to understand what kind of life do you want? Do you want to have a family? Do you want to travel? Do you want more time? Or how do you want your life to look? And then what you can do is you can start building your business, building the targets around your business around that goal. And you can start building the systems in your business around that goal. So when you're doing things in your business, you know exactly I'm doing this for this reason, because this is going to get me closer to that end goal. And just understand that things like your business and the money it makes are just tools to help you achieve those goals. And I think that's something a lot of trainers tend to miss out, but we actually do it all the time with our clients. I find quite interesting.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. That's cool. And I think it goes back to like having to remember where we first were when we first started. Like, again, it's that level of awareness. I think you and I were talking about that at the beginning before we jumped on this call. It's like our level of awareness now is way higher than it was back when we first became business owners. So we have to learn to be, it's not that we can't relate to them, but we have to remember what it was like when we were in their position to understand. And it's like when you're asking about goals and stuff like that, it's like, what's your end goal? Like, what is your overall end goal, right? It's like everybody that I talk to typically wants the same thing. They will all want time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom. They want to be able to work from wherever they want to work. They want to be able to make as much money as they can make. And they don't, they only want to work when they want to work. That's it. They don't want to be tied down to a time limit. And I hear a lot of misconceptions about people. I'm not saying one's true and one's not, because again, it all comes down to the individual. But I hear some people, it's like, if you're not working 16 hours a day on your business, then you're failing. And then I hear other people that are like, if you're working 16 hours a day, then you have no life balance, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, guys, look, you just do you and don't worry about what anybody else says. Like, as long as you have structure and some kind of process, you'll get there. You just have to be consistent. Like, find a good network and surround yourself in a good circle with people that want to see you win and not hold you back. And when you learn to shift that perspective and go, okay, look, this is my goal. This is where I'm going. I don't care what it's going to take to get there. I'm going to make it happen. And I'm not going to stop till it does. Keep your head down and just go. Over time, you'll start to see progress. You know, actually, I heard a podcast yesterday, and I never heard the saying before, but it was really cool. And he said, if you hang out in the barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut, right? So it's like, just keep at it long enough, and eventually it'll happen. You just can't quit. A lot of people get frustrated. Like, I seen statistically, most online trainers quit before the first year's over. And whatever reason that may be, because they don't see instant gratification. They don't see the results as fast as they think they're going to see, or it gets hard and they're like, this is too much. I'm going to go back to a 9-to-5. I was at that point at one point in time in my life. Like, when I first became an online trainer, I tried to struggle for about 5 months or so, to the point it was like, literally, I had a foreclosure notice. I got my truck repoed. My wife's car was close to being repoed. And it's like, I don't know what else to do. I guess I'm going to have to go get a normal job. And I ended up, instead of going and doing something stupid like getting another job, I paid a mentor. And then, like, 4 months, not even 4 months, in like 2 months, I had enough money to like catch back up on my house. And then I was catching back up on stuff. And then I was starting to make profit. But it's learning to navigate your own path. How are you as a business owner? When have you been through, like, I'm sure every entrepreneur has seen dark days. Like,
I've had back before we own our property now, but like before, when I was renting property, I had just literally, because we couldn't afford to pay rent, we had people knocking in the sign outside the door just because we wouldn't even, I was hiding from them at one point. I was just like, I know I can make this work, but I just couldn't deal with the stress of that. I've had the point where I couldn't even get out of bed one morning. I can remember once I was kind of woke up. I was just like, I'm not going anywhere. You know, when your mind just goes, no, just it won't take it anymore. And I had my wife, who was my wife now at the time, girlfriend at the time. She came round and she was like trying to just help us in there. And then even my parents came round, literally, like, this, because they're that worried about me. I just couldn't move. Like, the stress just hit me that much. And I think what was quite interesting about those moments, and it sounds very similar to today, you have two routes you can go, generally speaking. One is there's the fight or flight, if you like. You can kind of run away from it all and just do something else. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, whichever way you look at it, people might give you a stick for doing it. Entrepreneurism and owning business is not for everybody. Like, without a doubt, it's not for everybody. And there's nothing wrong with trying it. And if you feel it's too much, you want to do something else, then that's fine. Like, go and do it. There's definitely nothing wrong with doing that. But the other side is you can fight and go for it, and you can invest in yourself. Kind of what you did there. You had two options: and going out of a job, or I can double down and I can invest in me. Because I know if I just got someone just to help me a little bit, I'm going to put the work in that I need to do consistently to get the results that I want. And you invest in yourself to go and do that. And I think a lot of business owners get to a point where they do that. Like, I was exactly the same thing. Like, I needed to take charge of this and get some help. So you double down on you. And that's basically what you do as a business owner. You double down on you and you go for it. And I think most business owners at some point will go through that experience. I definitely think so. And I think, like, mentorship, coaching programs, business coaching programs are one of those things that can really help. And a lot of people are wary, I think, of doing it, especially when they first start out. But it makes a difference, because what you're basically doing from there is, if you're on a mentorship program, especially, by definition, a mentorship or a mentor, like in other industries anyway, is you follow in the footsteps of someone else that's already done it. That's generally what you do in a mentorship. So they can share not just like the coaching advice. And that's one of the beauties, I think, about the fitness industry, because we're coaches by trade. So we want to coach, and we can help them. We can help people get the best out of themselves as coaches. But also, you can be there. Like, you can be there and tell that story. Like, if somebody comes along, one of your clients, and comes along and says, I can't even afford to pay rent this month, you can relate to that. You can empathize with that. You can go back and stand in their shoes, talk about your experience. And even if they don't do exactly what you do, it doesn't matter. They know they're not alone. They know someone's been through it. They know that somebody has been through it, come out the other end, and that person is there to help and support them. And I think it's such an important thing to do. And if you're in a position to do it, then yeah, investing in a coaching program, mentorship, or something, even a mastermind, do your research, but investing in one, I think, can make all the difference. And just like the guys today, if you're in the barbershop, you're going to get an haircut at some point, like surround yourself, put yourself in that position as much as possible, and then it will happen as long as you put the work in. It's not easy, without a doubt. Not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, as long as you put the work in. That's the thing. And we all, I think with social media the way it is nowadays, we tend to play the comparison game. And I know I've talked about this before on one podcast or something. We always play the comparison game. We see what other people are doing, and so we compare our lives and our journey to them. And so I had a mindset coach long ago, and I'll share this again with you guys. It's like, you can't compare your chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 20. Like, we're not there yet. We're not on that level, right? And so you have to understand that hard times are going to come, adversity is going to come, and that's what's going to shape you and tell you about your character and go, am I meant for this or am I not? Right? And so if you want something bad enough, you will push and grind and claw your way through to come out clean on the other side. And if not, like he said, it's completely okay to go back and do whatever it is that you want to do. Being an entrepreneur is not meant for everyone. And you kind of have to learn to shift your mindset. It's all about your head, man. It's a big head game. It really is. Learning to go, you know what? There's only plan A. There's no plan B, right? When I have a plan B, I'm already planning for plan A to fail. So I have plan A. This is all that I have left. This is all that I have to do. I'm going to push my way through. And, Alex, I'm a big Alex Hormozi fan. Alex Hormozi had said that if you're not, if you're not willing to risk everything for your opportunity, then your opportunity becomes the risk in the end, right? And so that's what you're gonna sacrifice. If you're not willing to sacrifice your time, if you're not willing to sacrifice sleep at night, if you're not willing to sacrifice some of your more luxurious things that you have now, even though it might be your common stuff, if you're not willing to sacrifice those things, then what you truly want becomes the sacrifice in the end. So, I mean, it's up to you to make the choice and figure out what it is that you truly want. What do you truly desire? And I mean, I don't know how else to say it. Like, I talk to a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, right? And people that come from the same space and do the same thing. There is no entrepreneur that I've talked to, and I've talked to some 9 and 10 figure earners that have gone, oh yeah, it was super simple. Like, I started my business and it just took off from there. Or my mom and dad gave me a ton of money and I started a coaching business, and, I sold a couple programs and then I made $1 million. It was nothing like that. Everyone talks about
I've heard that story anywhere.
Right? It's like stuff that they've had to overcome. Like, it's not simple, guys. Like, you're going to go through stuff. Like, life happens. It's hard. And you have to figure out, like, what is it that you truly desire? What is it that you truly want? So, all right, man, I won't take up any more time. So if people want to learn more about PTD Ninja, how can they, like, if they want to connect with you, where can they go? How can they find you? Stuff like that.
Social media is a good way of doing it. I'm always around on the socials. Facebook and Instagram is normally where you'll tend to find me. Probably more on Facebook than Instagram, but you get me on both. It's just both of them just at Ash Burleigh. That easy to find me. Or head over to ptdninja.com and you can find out everything about what we do on there. You can also get in touch with me on there as well.
Cool. So what I'll do, guys, if you're driving or if you're listening to this and you don't have paper and pen or anything like that, I don't want you to wreck, so don't try and take notes. I will attach all of his handles down in the description of the podcast. So when you get to where you're going, then you can open it and just click on it with a hyperlink, and it'll take you to his socials, and you can connect with him there. So yeah, man, this has been an awesome chat. I appreciate it.
Boys, man, enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and We'll connect again sometime soon in the future, and definitely stick around because I have some questions of my own to ask. But yeah, man, that's all we got for today, guys. And I will see you guys in the next one.
Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.